So what are the processes to make this happen? So this is my thing is in a bit backwards order here. So one is to have sort of self-service research and access to the knowledge base, right? So this is the first thing, is to be able to, and this may not really think about this as just in time, like being able to look up, in a knowledge base, but that really is probably one of the most important things, is to have the information, this knowledge that you're gathering from every question that's being gathered at your campus, to be in an open, searchable place, so that I don't, the best way to manage a data request is to have them never have to do it, right? To get enough information that they can do. So what reports already exist, or what data definitions if I'm going to build my own report? So a searchable knowledge base available to someone. If they can't find it, then they have some way to submit a help request, right? This is different than a data request. This is like to know, I'm going to I thought there was a report that did this, and knowing who to ask, and so having some sort of ticketing system or way to submit requests around, is there a report that does this if they can't find a knowledge base, or is there a definition for this? Or having a contact list for who the data stewards are over different functional areas and technical areas. So if you've got an actual sort of directory of who's in charge of what, then I can actually do a direct contact if necessary to get that answer, or to ask my question. If that doesn't give me if I can't find what I'm asking for doesn't exist mainly, then the next thing is that it can actually submit a data request. Right, so this data request is to create a new report, or to create a new definition, or a new extract, or whatever. So that's going to go in, and there should be data stewardship as part of that process. So a standard data request process that involves, particularly if it's something new, kickouts for either approval or feedback from stewards around, is this correct? Is this definition right? Are we doing this in the right way? Right. Also, secondly, if I'm building out a new request or change process, that builds up the knowledge. So I should be doing that either directly or indirectly in my knowledge base. So it's adding to the knowledge as I create some sort of spec for this new thing that I'm building. And that might create new definitions or new specifications. And then lastly, once I'm done with that request and something's built, that the documentation, the information about what was built, should be provided with or embedded along with the deliverables, along with the reports. So this is important. So the part of this data request process is to create some sort of specification about what you're going to build that then becomes the documentation of what you did build. And that information, where necessary, is signed off on and approved or augmented by the input of a data steward in process, right? In a way that's not overwrought and takes forever, right? That sort of happens automatically. That's like the ideal situation of just-in-time governance, is to have it included in the request process, to have it create content that then is available to someone who's, if they're consuming the report, that they can see this information. The next thing is to have a data quality issue reporting process. So I mentioned this briefly, but have some way, for some process with which, or a standard way that people can submit data quality problems that they find, right? And as I said, that's going to make an enormous input on your on the trust in your system. Even if it turns out that many of these things aren't real data quality issues, the fact that people can submit them and they'll get feedback to say, well, actually, it's because you're looking at a different day, or whatever, that's going to be super helpful. Data quality monitoring is another thing that could be really important. Again, this is sort of a level of maturity. I don't want you to sort of scared away for this, but if you've created data quality rules and you have some monitoring going on, then from a just-in-time standpoint, it can notify you ahead of time if there's a data quality issue, right? So then you can get an alert and take action on it right away, and rather than having to wait for someone to find a problem in the future. And then the next thing is having some sort of change management or impact analysis report. So I mentioned if a data system changes and that's going to break a report, or if a definition changes, it's going to break a report, or if a report changes, it's going to break another report. Like, you kind of want to know the interconnectivity of this. So if there's a way that you can sort of, many of these things are related to each other, if you can have a dependency between them and to notify someone about the impact of changes just in time, like when it's happening, as opposed to later someone having to find it out. Like the worst case scenario is they don't find it out until, like it doesn't fatally break it. It just gives someone a wrong number for a year until they realize we've, not been counting this whole population because someone changed the coding of it, and which does happen. All right, so that's sort of the processes, having some sort of self-service research in the knowledge base, having a data request process that includes governance and documentation, having some sort of data quality issue reporting process and monitoring, and some sort of change management and impact analysis reports. Those are the primary things around the process.